Hey YouTube, this is a finance ownership podcast where I talk about how you can take ownership of your financial situation. And here are 5 ways to get financially ahead. So the first way that you plan to get financially ahead is the first comes first is having planned for 3 to 6 months in savings. So obviously saving money doesn't build you up or anything like that, but life happens. You never know what happens. Your car breaks down, something in your house breaks down, an emergency happens. Just making sure that you have that cushion of 3 to 6 months helps protect you to make sure that you don't have to go into high interest credit card debt, which can be sometimes 22 to 24%. And you don't want to have to dig yourself into that ditch where you have to constantly be paying off high interest debt. So you want to be able to avoid that at all costs. So that's why that 3 to 6 months is very important in terms of having that cushion. I would say probably max that you want to have saved up just in a savings account, and it is probably for like a year. But after you have a year of money saved up, no more, you want to make sure, which goes on to point number 2, that you start investing your excess. So obviously saving your money in an account, where nowadays savings accounts, a lot of them, they give only like 0.1% interest, not 1%, like a fraction of a percent. So what do you do with your excess? Obviously things like if you want to think about investments, you think about stocks, real estate, different types of businesses, etc. There's a bunch of different things that you could get to get a better rate of return than just the bank. So making sure that you're investing your excess is really important. So some people might not really know at all how to start or where to start with investing. So something simple that almost anyone can start with is just putting a set amount of money every month, like 300 or 400 or whatever you can manage, into something like an S&P 500 ETF or the market index. So essentially what that is, it's basically you're buying a piece of the US economy. If you want to talk about the top companies in the world like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Facebook, these are this is all the companies that kind of consist in that 500. Obviously there's more, but just to give you some examples of some of the companies that are in there. So the way it essentially works is a computer passively manages these funds. So let's say a company goes below that 500 mark. Another company, let's say one company goes to 501, another company would basically go and replace it. So it's passively managed, meaning there's low cost to having the account, lower fees than if you would just get a typical mutual fund. So it's very cheap, cost efficient, and it gives you around the market average, which is 10%, considering that you do it for a long-term period of time, saying 5, 10, 20 years. So the market average is 10%. Obviously, you're not guaranteed to get that interest rate, but the longer you stay in the market, the more likely you are to get to that rate of return, which is 10%, which is solid, because you're actually going to be beating most wealth managers that manage all these sophisticated funds like hedge funds and all these different mutual funds. A lot of these guys can't even beat the market. So even if you buy a simple ETF or an exchange traded fund, which is basically a conglomerate of stocks, a bundle of stocks, it's going to put you in a good place in the future in terms of either retirement planning or just having money. So number 3, if you happen to be in an unfortunate situation where you did get yourself in high interest debt, you want to make sure you pay that off first before you even start investing your excess. So the thing is, it doesn't make sense to invest into something like an S&P fund, which historically returns 10%, while you have to pay 20 to 24% in interest on your credit card. So you want to make sure that you aggressively pay off those things first. And when it comes to like the lower loans, when you're talking about car loans, student loans, you could kind of take your time to pay those. Obviously, you want to pay off your debt on a timely basis and things of that sort, but you don't want to solely just focus on paying debt. So I would say if it's 4 to 5%. It's not too high interest. You should prioritize investing and paying off some of your debt at the same time. But you could kind of pick and choose a little bit. But obviously, if it's credit card debt, it's kind of non-negotiable. If you have 22 to 24% debt, it's kind of priority over investing and paying off things that are lower interest, like student loans or car loans. The interesting thing about some of the student loans now, actually, they're actually accumulating at 0% interest right now because of COVID and shutdowns and things of that sort, and people lost their jobs. There's no interest building on your student loans. So maybe if you want to take advantage a little bit more of chipping a little bit more out of your student loans, that might be a good idea because there's no interest building up on it. So I'd rather pay 5% on $9,000 than paying 5% on, let's say, 20 or 30,000, right? Because it's just a higher amount that you can be paying interest on. So you could kind of take advantage of 0% student loans right now. We don't know if it's going to extend past that, but this could be an opportunity to potentially be a little bit more aggressive in paying your student loans. But generally, you want to prioritize investing for the long term over paying off debt. Number 4, I would say never buy luxurious things on credit unless you're paying it off right away. So using a credit card and then paying off things right away is a great way to build credit. But if you're not going to pay it off right away, you don't want to extend your limit and buy things that are like cars, jewelry, vacation that you you shouldn't be buying those things if you can't buy them in cash. I know there's a lot of those programs out there that kind of give you the benefit to kind of pay periodically. They might not make you pay any interest, but the reason why I would say you don't want to get a habit of doing that because you might overextend your limit because if you keep buying things on credit and then you keep having to have these payments, you could potentially overextend your limit, and you really don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you're in a good financial situation, and you could deal with the costs and expenses of life. So generally, don't. I'd probably just say never at all. Actually, don't use your credit card on luxurious things if you can't pay them off right away. And lastly, if you don't make enough money, earn more money, right? So there's always new skills that you could do to better yourself at your job or your business or whatever you do. So the thing is, if you improve yourself in your job, let's say like you used to take an hour to do a task, but now you take 10 minutes to do that same task. I'm sure if you could improve your skills to that extent, you're going to get paid more. So there's certain skills in every occupation that are paid more. So people that are proficient in Excel and QuickBooks, they get paid more as accountants, right? So I don't know what type of profession you're in, whether you're in business or you're a lawyer or you're in sales or you're an accountant, but there's certain skills that you can learn to make yourself more valuable so you can get paid more. And the next thing is, if anything, if you feel like there isn't much mobility to get paid more at your job, so maybe it might be a better idea to do something like either a part-time job or a part-time business where you could actually end up making more. And nowadays it's becoming more and more easier to make money outside of just working your typical day job. You could do real estate, you could do Amazon, you could do different types of online sales, you could do financial planning or insurance. There's just plenty of things that you could do to as either a part-time business or a part-time job that could end up helping you make more money in the future. So just think about that if you're not making enough money at your job, because life is expensive. You don't want to. The thing is, if you're making 30, 40 grand a year, it's going to be really hard to raise a family and have kids and all those things that most people want to do in their lives if they're making a really low income. I know there's a lot of things that kind of promote this idea of live like a monk, never go to Starbucks buying the $4 coffee, but eventually I think there's a point where it's important to just improve your skills so you could kind of deal with the cost of life. Life has its cost, so you have to buy a house, you have to or rent somewhere, or you have to go out and eat sometimes. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you have to live too frugally. So at some point it might be easier to make more money than to save money. I would say you want to get to a point where you can invest 20% of your income. So if you could get to that point where you could invest probably, I would say even 15%. If you could invest 15 to 20%, I think that really puts you in a strong position to actually build wealth for you and your family. If you could put your money into not a savings account, but actually investment accounts in different types of businesses, real estate, things that actually grow in value versus just putting it in a flat account. So those are my 5 tips of how to get financially ahead. If you found some value out of this video, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to be doing a video every week, so go ahead and subscribe to Financial Ownership. Thank you.